Danny watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Dhani and John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
I'm Danny.
And I'm John.
And this is Watching My Stories.
Yes, it is.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yes.
We are looking ahead. We're just days away from Christmas. I hope everyone had a wonderful Hanukkah, who celebrates Hanukkah.
Yes.
And that's it. So I've got a lot to talk about, and I'm really going to hope not to divide this into two parts. So we're just going to jump right into it, and let's go.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm in.
Oh, so, well, let me just tell you real quick.
Fault start.
Yep, sorry. Do that all the time. Going to do movies, TV shows. I'm going to talk about some modern Christmas movies that have come out in the last 10 years that are worth it. And then we're going to talk about Diane Keaton in the Actors Corner.
Okay.
So now we're going to jump into movies, starting with a movie that we watched last night, Greenland.
Yes. Yep.
So we were looking for a movie to watch. This is one that I've been wanting to see just because I love the big disaster movies. And we had a few choices. And you said the same thing to me. You were like, I love disaster movies. I knew it was going to be, well, I was like, it's probably going to be terrible, but let's jump in anyways.
Well, other than the actual disaster, they tend not to have a very good story.
I don't know. Because again, I think it's like you either love these movies or you don't. And you have to dismiss logic.
Well,
you just do.
Yes.
Like, remember 2012 where like he's driving in that limo and or the plane or whatever, and the runway is literally disintegrating right behind them. Like you have to dismiss logic, and you just have to enjoy the crap out of it.
Yeah, and that's what you have to like about those. Going in, you need to like that sort of epic visual stuff where stuff's just falling apart all around versus the story between two people.
But I'll tell you, in every one of these movies, I cry. They also are good at putting together, and I'll even go back to Armageddon or Deep Impact. Deep Impact is one that I actually can't watch a lot because the emotion of that one is killer.
Sure.
So I'm bringing those up because this one actually kind of reminded me of Deep Impact a little bit more. Because, it's kind of the same thing. But in fairness, I want to say, and I love you for this, so don't get mad. But you cry when you see other people cry. Yeah, I can't. So, it's a reaction I actually have no
so
control
you crying
over.
because of it. Sometimes part of that is just because the characters on screen are crying.
Yeah, it's an actual physical reaction. I don't know what it is, but
a lot of people have that.
There's a lot. I've never met anyone else who has that.
I have that. You saw that?
You do not. You don't cry every time someone cries.
I don't fall down and blubber, but I tear up. I tear up.
Right, but there are many times where I'm not wanting to cry and I cannot help it. Yeah. It's just a physical reaction. So anyway, Greenland, it's with Gerard Butler and Morena Baccarin, I believe, we love her. Scott Glenn is in there, who looks amazing at 81. I had to look up his age because I was like, how?
Yeah, hadn't seen that guy in forever.
Yeah. So the basis of Greenland is there's a comet that's flying by Earth, and all of its fragments are going to hit Earth. And of course, in the beginning, they're just going to go in the ocean, and they're going to be small and no big deal, and people are throwing barbecues to watch, and then of course the government was lying the whole time, and they knew it was going to hit, and they have bunkers, and so now how do you get to a bunker and survive this thing? Yeah.
So the good news for reality is that would never happen, because even if the government did try to keep it secret, there's enough citizen astronomers that have their stuff together that they would be able to calculate that, hey, it's not going to hit the ocean. First of all,
we would hope so.
First of all, it's 100 times bigger than the government's telling you. And second of all, it's not going to hit the ocean. It's going to hit Tampa.
I think we could rely on other countries telling us the truth.
Well, whoever.
Yeah.
The point is, you have to kind of suspend belief from the very beginning. Of course,
from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, so I'll talk first, and then you can go, or you can interject with me.
I'll just interject.
So overall, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to say I liked it. it's 2 hours. It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes on the movie channels, will I tune in? Sure. Do I have to watch it from start to finish ever again? Probably not. But it's enjoyable. I cried a lot. And here's the difference with this movie than others. This was much more, they were focused on the story and the emotion much more than destruction. Yes. We didn't really see the destruction until the very end. That's kind of where the Deep Impact thing comparison came into play, because it's much more about you have to say goodbye to people. So they know there's going to be one fragment that's hitting in 2 days that's going to be a planet killer, and it's going to be an extinction event. Mm-hmm. So if you don't get to these bunkers, or if you're not chosen by the government to get into the bunker, you got to say goodbye. And that's stressful. It's one thing if they're saying goodbye to their neighbors, saying goodbye to family members, just whatever. That to me is a very emotional buildup when in 2 days it's it. Mm-hmm. So mm-hmm. I enjoyed those moments. The rest of it, they kind of did a highlight, which again, honestly, in my holiday party this week with my work, we were asking questions, and one of them was, would you survive the apocalypse? And my answer was, I don't know that I would want to. I've watched enough of these that it's ugly. Mm-hmm. And I felt like this movie definitely picked up on that, of how ugly people will get. And there was there were some nice people there too. But for the most part, people get really ugly. Violence ensues, selfishness ensues. Like it's horrible. And mm-hmm. they really played on that. And it was stressful in this movie. It was very stressful. Yep. But I enjoyed it. Again, it's like one of those things where it's just, you got to sit back and just take it on. And was I screaming at the movie? I was, a lot. One of my issues with this movie was no one seemed to rush. And I kept asking you, like, is it just me, or is this driving you nuts?
Sense of urgency, people.
There was no sense of urgency in everything. Yep. Even as the planet killer is coming down and they're trying to run to the bunker, it's still like it was like me running, which is non-existent.
You will be caught in an apocalypse.
Oh, yeah. I'm the last one. Yeah. I'm the last one in the pack. You just have to outrun me.
I take solace in the fact I can outrun you. So.
Yeah, I'm fine. And I'm fine with it. Like I said, I don't want to live through this. I don't want to see all these horrible people.
I'm going to get caught from behind, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I might even turn around and say, here I am.
Fine, you got me. Come here.
Yeah, so that's kind of my take on it. It's, it is exactly what you expect it to be.
Yeah.
Don't go into it expecting any sort of wonderful, Oscar thing. It's the fun,
right,
disaster, stressful movie that you expect it to be.
Yeah. And I kind of said I'd interject because I kind of figured we'd be on the same page with this. And everything you said is spot on. It's exactly how I feel. So I don't have much to add. It was a little more story than we're used to in these disaster movies. And it was kind of interesting that it wasn't like, what's that one with The Rock where he's the
San Andreas?
Yeah, it wasn't like that where there's like
it's destruction all around.
Kind of destruction the whole movie, right?
Yeah.
This was
awesome.
little pockets of destruction, although there was huge destruction.
But we really didn't witness a lot of it. It was really kind of that montage at the end where then they're showing us those monuments, you know.
Well, yeah, that's where you saw the overall destruction, but there were big impacts scattered throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
But not like we're used to, like you said.
That's exactly it. There was a big impact, and then it would be 20 minutes without anything, and then all of a sudden, boom, another big impact. So it was kind of different.
It was much more about the added stress to what was already going on versus destruction.
Yeah.
I liked it. I'm not mad that we paid $20 to rent it. Right. I'm perfectly fine. It was 2 hours long.
It didn't need to be 2 hours long.
It didn't need to be 2 hours long. It didn't always feel like it was too long. I think maybe 15 minutes probably is all that I would, say I was struggling a little bit. But again, there was a lot of stress A lot of intensity.
Yeah, it was,
and a lot of drama.
It was more stressful than a typical disaster movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
They really played up the emotions between the two leads.
Yeah.
And that, I think, was the source of most of it, if not all of it.
Right.
But yeah, it didn't need to be 2 hours long, but I never felt like, I never looked at the clock, or I never wanted to check time to see how much is left. It wasn't.
They broke it up well enough.
It wasn't one of those where you're thinking during the movie, God, this does not need to be this long. It just, kind of towards the end, you're like, yeah, it didn't need to be that long. But,
it took a little bit for me to get going in the beginning. Because again, they're being told to pack a bag and they're still standing around going, what's happening? So that sense of urgency thing, I think in the beginning was I was like, oh, come on.
If I have one thing to say negative about the movie, is I did not like the way they made Gerard Butler's character, or he chose to play it or something, because even in the beginning when he got that alert and he hesitated telling his wife,
right,
and then there's that impact, and then he shows her and he's like, well, what do we do? It's like, you know what to do.
Right.
Stop.
Because he's a structural engineer. You'd assume he's a smart guy, and yet he's still, there were a few times where he was just kind of standing around going, well, what do I do next? And it's like, okay, are you making a decision to think, or are you freezing?
Yeah, no,
that's
what it was. It wasn't like he was deciding between two courses of action. It appeared like he is deciding whether to think about it or not. And it bugged me several times throughout the several times throughout the movie. I was like, yeah, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You pick one, just go.
Yeah. And I am a fan of Gerard Butler's, in most things. But
what nationality is he? Is he Scottish? Because there were several times.
That was his actual accent.
Yeah, but there were times where it sounded different. It sounded British at one point. It sounded, really? It threw me off guard because I thought he was Scottish. Thanks, Alexa. Oops. Goodbye. Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Anyway, so
we can be done talking about it and move on. I
think if you like these movies, you like these movies, and you're gonna watch it anyways.
Yeah. If you like Day After Tomorrow or San Andreas or any of those, you're gonna like this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. And it's on pay-per-view, so that's how you watch it.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be watching a lot on pay-per-view for a while yet.
Yeah.
So we have no problem spending the $20, it's $19.99, for this movie to kind of help support, the industry and to be able to watch a
movie at home,
a good movie at home as it's released.
Yeah, and I didn't miss it. I mean, again, the sound was incredible. The house was definitely booming. Well, I don't feel like I missed out on.
And we have a setup that some people don't. I mean, we have a surround sound, we have a big TV.
Sure.
So we get more of the effect, theatrical a theatrical effect, than some people do, but it's still worth it even if you don't have that big setup. I think it's still worth it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching on your phone, you're going to miss some stuff, but
if you're watching it on your phone, you're not listening to this podcast.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Okay, moving on. Next movie I watched yesterday was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. This is on.
I'm sorry. What?
You've never heard of this?
No.
Okay, this is a play by August Wilson.
Okay. Ma
Rainey was.
Okay, slow down. Is it Ma Rainey or is it Ma Rainey?
Ma.
Okay.
Rainey.
Okay.
And her song was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. She was an actual person in the 30s, I believe. Don't quote me on that. She was called the Mother of Blues. And then August Wilson wrote this play, I believe, in the 90s, the 80s. I think it came out the first time. Whoopi Goldberg played this on stage on Broadway. She played Ma Rainey.
Okay.
So this is the adaptation of the play, with Viola Davis is playing Ma Rainey. This is Chadwick Boseman's last movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Coleman Domingo's in it, which if you watch Fear the Walking Dead, you know him and love him. He's also a playwright and is fantastic. Yeah, so August Wilson, if you don't know his work, he always wrote about kind of the Black American experience during certain times. His other one was Fences.
I was just going to ask that.
Which Fences is probably one of my top 10 movies. I've never seen the play, but I love that movie so much. I watch it as much as I can.
Well, I've heard that the movie did really good by the play.
It did. And Denzel should have won that year.
Yeah.
And I won't get into that, but
okay.
He should have won.
Okay.
But anyway, so this is different. That was Pennsylvania. That was a great story about those characters. Again, Fences. Go watch it if you haven't. It's fantastic.
It should be taught in school.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, everyone should read his work.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
Because it is about an experience, and this is the same thing. This is all set in one day. They're in Chicago. It's Ma Rainey and her band. They're in Chicago to record a song, and it's this day. And you can't really explain it because it is a day, and it is a day. You know what I mean? And so it's mostly the band members, the guys, Chadwick Boseman and these other guys in a room. It's mostly them talking, and Chadwick plays Levy, who's like this younger musician, where the other guys are all older. They've been with Ma for a while, and he's coming in and he wants to spruce things up. She sings very slow blues music, and he wants to mix it up. And then it's about him talking about his experience, the torturous death of his mother, how he's come along, what he hopes to do in life. Then they talk about the Black experience, and how the older guys are like thankful to do anything, and the younger one is saying you shouldn't be thankful for anything. They throw us a bone when they're eating the entire pig, and all that sort of stuff. So it's all just about their experience and this time, and how difficult it is to get a break of anything,
right.
Chadwick just has these big dreams. Levy has these big dreams. It's a very, very emotional and wonderful interaction with this band. And then Ma Rainey, she was called the Mother of Blues. She was actually very famous at the time. She had a lot of control. And so then to watch this woman kind of come around, and she's telling these white men what to do. She won't play by their rules. She won't sing until she has a Coke in her hand. She's, Viola Davis, my God, just, I will always bow to her. She is just perfection in everything she does. And this is no exception. So it's, I don't want to spoil anything. There's big drama moments, huge drama moments, amazing ending that had me just stunned and in tears. So it's just something you have to go watch, and you'll be riveted the entire time. And you're riveted because the performances are riveting.
Right.
So Viola, of course, Chadwick, I mean, it was almost, it's all at this point now, it's impossible to watch this and not think of what he's going through at the time,
right.
which I kept trying to stop myself from doing,
right.
because that's not what he would want us to be doing, you know? But also I'm thinking, this freaking guy is so amazing. He is so incredible in this role. And then I was getting pissed that he's gone and we aren't going to have more of this from him. He is amazing. And if he doesn't get nominated, I will be shocked. He is incredible in this. The highs and lows and the fancifulness of him, and then the despair that he shows. And oh my God, he's just, it's insane. It's insane. And he's good. He was good in Marshall. He's good in, I mean, obviously Black Panther goes without saying, but he's good in everything that he ever did. This tops all of it.
Really?
And it's insane.
Really? Okay.
And again, to think of how much he was probably not feeling
right.
good and memorizing such lines. And oh my God, I just can't, it exhausted me,
Yeah.
So it's on Netflix. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Go watch it. It's amazing. You're going to hear a lot about it come award time. And everyone is just at the height. It's so good.
So I'm going to ask a potentially embarrassing question.
Okay.
Can Viola Davis sing?
There are little times where she's singing like under her breath in this, and you can tell that she could, but it was not her voice. She's lip syncing Okay. I think basically because I don't think her voice really sounds like Ma Rainey's.
Okay.
So they had someone else kind of record Ma Rainey so that was closer to that voice because it's a very gravelly, like, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the end, there are real pictures of Ma Rainey and the boys and stuff like that. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, it's just good. So just go watch it.
Okay.
And I think it was close to 2 hours, but I honestly was shocked that it was the end. I was so into it.
Yeah.
And I was so like, and then it was the end. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. We're stopping there. I could have just kept watching all of them forever. Yeah. So good. Okay. Next one is a movie on HBO Max called Let Them All Talk. This is a Steven Soderbergh movie.
Oh, yeah.
That has Meryl Streep, Candice Bergen, Diane Wiest, Lucas Hedges, Gemma Chan, which seems like it should be the most wonderful movie ever made. And it wasn't. So you came in for like the last 45 minutes?
Yeah, I think the last about half of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I told you, I was like, it's not that good. I don't know what's going on. And you still stayed and watched it.
But because I came in and Meryl Streep, Diane Wiest, and Candice Bergen were on the screen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, say what now?
Yeah.
So I watched it and it's like, you know, I had no frame of reference for how bad it was at that point. So I sat and watched, and I have to say the last 45 minutes were not particularly...
And they actually were better than the first 45 minutes. I'm not going to say it's bad. I really didn't understand the point.
It was, yeah.
I didn't get the point.
That's exactly what it was. I kept thinking to myself, you know, this is interesting for what it is, which is just a conversation between several people. But what's happening? What's the point of all of this?
So the basic plot is that Meryl Streep is a book writer, and she has to accept an award in England, and she doesn't fly. We find out later because she has a medical condition. So she goes on the Queen Mary 2 and crosses the Atlantic, and she asks to bring some friends, which are Candice Bergen and Diane Wiest. And then we find out that they haven't seen each other for like 30 years. But so you think, okay, so they're going to get on here, they're going to have fun, whatever. But Meryl Streep wants nothing to do with them. She brings her nephew, Lucas Hedges, and tells him, just look after my friends, make sure they're having a good time, but I have to work. And it's like, well, then what are you doing?
Right. Yeah.
So we do find out a few little things in their lives that have kind of separated them for all these years.
Or a few big things.
But it's like, it doesn't really ever get addressed. You don't really learn to like anyone. It's not that I dislike anyone. I just didn't fall in love with any of them. It's a weird, and then there is like a little twist, but it still doesn't do anything for the story.
Can I spoil it?
Sure.
Okay. So the main takeaway from this, well, the plot or the story or whatever you want to call it, which it's not very well formed, is that Meryl Streep's big book in her career was based on her best friend's life falling apart. Her husband cheating, or her cheating and getting a divorce from her husband.
Well, that's the way that she feels, Candice Bergen. Meryl Streep never confirmed that. Candice Bergen felt that that's what happened and that it was based off of her life. But Meryl Streep never confirmed it, never said.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, it was a weird...
It seems weird to me that she would write a book about that almost...
Well, you can write a book about anyone cheating on someone, and you can't, I mean...
Okay, so this is my breakdown, so just let me do it. So, and she invites these her two best friends from past life, really, on this trip with her, and she does basically ignore them, but you start to think that she's going to finally apologize for this book that she wrote about her best friend's life and how it ruined her life. And it turns out her best friend, or one of her best friends, Candice Bergen, really is only there to extort money from her as payback for her ruining her life. That's it. It's no deeper than that. So that whole premise is kind of, and Meryl Streep has no intention of apologizing. You find out like you said, she doesn't even acknowledge that that's really what happened. Although it's to me very obvious that that's what happened.
I don't think it's obvious at all.
I don't
think it's obvious at all.
That's your opinion.
Yeah, but without the author saying, you're right, I did that, you can't, again, anyone can assume, like I could probably find a million books that parallel my life and go,
And if your best friend wrote one of them at the time that your life is doing that, it would be
I don't know.
suspect.
To me, that's a very small part of the movie.
Okay.
That's not even the biggest part of the movie, so who cares?
What's the biggest part of the movie then?
That, again, spoiler, but I don't recommend anyone watching this, so it doesn't matter, that she's sick and then she ends up dying.
Right.
That's the biggest surprise.
But you don't know that until almost the very end.
Well, forgive me, you didn't see the first hour of the movie, so you didn't even see when Candice Bergen was trying to describe the parallel between the book and her life. You didn't see any of that.
Okay.
So I don't.
You're right. I didn't see the first half. So
I think you're trying to make that a big point of the movie because there's nothing else to make a big point of the movie. I think you're grasping at something to try and say, here's why there's anything to watch. I don't feel like that's even worth watching. I honestly think Steven Soderbergh wanted to film a movie on the Queen Mary 2, and so he slapped this thing together in order to do that. And look, the ship is gorgeous. I loved watching that sort of thing. But to me, Let Them All Talk as a title, there was none of these three women were doing anything on the ship that anyone would be talking about. It was just super weird. All of it didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Why was Diane Wiest even there? She did nothing. Like no one was trying to mend a friendship. No one was trying to heal a friendship. And even after Meryl Streep's character died, Candice Bergen was still trying to get money out of it. Like no one cared about each other. I don't understand why any of them were together. It didn't make any sense.
I agree.
So anyway, skip it.
Yeah, don't watch it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because of all the good people involved, but it's just,
yeah,
it's so less than.
Yeah.
Which is really disappointing being a Steven Soderbergh fan.
Right.
Done.
Okay. I didn't want to spend much time on ones that I don't like. Okay, so the next movie is The Prom on Netflix. I'm sure everyone's heard a lot about this. This was a Broadway musical, won Tony Awards, and then Ryan Murphy took it and he turned it into this. And yeah. So what do I say? We'll start with who's in it. Meryl Streep, James Corden, Nicole Kidman, Andrew Rannells, Kerry Washington, Keegan-Michael Key, and then the two girls that the whole movie centers around is Ariana DeBose, who was in Hamilton. She was the bullet in Hamilton. And this new girl, Joellen Pellman, who I would swear Drew Barrymore had to have had a kid.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get Drew Barrymore out of my head. And you even came in 1 second. And I was like, doesn't she look like Drew Barrymore?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And she has an incredible voice. I mean, great voice. That's what I'll say about that. So, what do we say? There was a big sequin budget on this movie.
Yeah. Yep.
Nicole Kidman is wasted. She shouldn't have been in it. It's pointless for her to be in it. James Corden was miscast, which everyone's talking about, so there's no shock in that. People are kind of, Ryan Murphy has a lot of gay actors in all of his stuff. Why he didn't choose to have the biggest gay character in this movie played by a gay actor, I still can't understand.
Was that James Corden's role?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was not he shouldn't have been in it. Meryl Streep shines, which she normally does, but her voice in this is wonderful. Let's see. Keegan-Michael Key is really, really good. His song was probably my favorite. So I've listened to the music for the last couple of years since the show came out. And everything's always different when you just listen to a soundtrack and then you see the show. So I never saw the show. Everyone loved the show. I'm hoping that the show's a little different because so the overall movie, yes, I enjoyed a lot. There were just little pieces that I had issues with, and it's tough because I wanted it to be more about this girl. So the whole story is that this girl in high school, she wants to go with her girlfriend to prom. Kerry Washington plays this very ultra-conservative mother, head of the PTA, and instead of allowing her to do that, they cancel prom. Flip side, in New York, Meryl Streep James Corden, Nicole Kidman, Andrew Rannells, they're all out of work Broadway stars. Meryl Streep had won 2 Tonys. The others are not really stars. They're just out of work Broadway people. They need something to make their reputation look better because they're all seen as narcissists and, all this stuff. So then they discover this story on Twitter about this girl and her prom being canceled. And they're like, no, we can't do that. Let's go and save her and save her prom. And so they go to this little town and infiltrate it and try to take over to get this prom back on. There's 2 competing sides here. There's one where I want to learn more about this girl and her life. And because we find out that when she told her parents, she got kicked out. She's living with her grandmother. But she's this super strong, like confident girl, and so I want so much more out of her. But then there's these 4 Broadway people who are, I felt a lot from them. Lots of Broadway references, lots of Broadway fun. But they don't really care. Like at one, they're like, what are you going to wear to the prom? And she says, oh, like a vintage tux. And James Corden's like, no. And these people who are supposed to be there to help her, which I understand because they're narcissists, they don't get it. But still, James Corden, who's this supposed to be this gay man, takes her shopping and does her in this frilly dress and heels and the hair. And I'm like, you just changed her. You didn't listen to who she is. And isn't that the point of this whole thing, is to listen to who this girl is? So eventually, they kind of bumbles and all this stuff and they screw it up, and eventually she has to take it in her own hands, and she does, and it's a gorgeous song. And then in the matter of a song, all these people who hated her come around and they understand, which again, if only. It was just, it wasn't enough of what I wanted and too much of what I didn't want, I guess is the only way I can explain it. It was disjointed to me. Overall, is it just entertaining? Sure. But for me, I was sitting watching and picking out things, which means that I wasn't enjoying it tremendously. I don't know. It was just a little too much of something for me.
So unless you're a very casual observer, you're not going to get a lot from it.
I don't know. A lot of people are loving it. I mean,
probably because they don't know better.
No, I think just, it's fun, and it's just supposed to be fun. But I feel like there's such a big story there, of this girl who's really just so strong and proud that it was just overshadowed. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know what it was. I'm struggling, but I totally recommend people watching it. If you like musicals, definitely check it out and decide for yourself. But that's me. I just felt like, all 4 of the Broadway people, they all get their own song. And again, I just felt like Nicole Kidman just shouldn't have been there. She could have done Meryl's part, or, it was such a small little thing for her that it just didn't. Every time she was there, I was like, why is she sitting there in the background? Like, what is she getting out of this? Mm-hmm. Like I pictured more, again, surprisingly, Ryan Murphy's partner's wife, Gwyneth Paltrow. I kept thinking, why isn't she doing this role? She would have really kicked ass in that role. So I don't know. It was weird. Mm-hmm. Weird casting choices, I guess.
Yeah, well.
So anyway, that's it. The Prom on Netflix. Next movie, gonna go through these quickly now. Try to. The Princess Switch 2, Switched Again. It's on Netflix. Vanessa Hudgens. The Princess Switch was last year, the year before. If you watch the first one, go ahead and watch the second one. Now she plays 3 different people instead of just 2. Look, I put it on like on a Sunday afternoon or something and just kind of laid on the couch, and it's fine. Look, I just actually saw a TikTok where a chick was like, I'm going to eat this edible and watch The Princess Switch 2. And it was hysterical. She was like, she's like, did she get 3 different paychecks for this? And, did she make them not cast anyone else and say, I can do all this myself? It was pretty funny. Anyway, it is what it is. And just, you'll either watch it because you saw the first one or not. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's just fluff. Pure fluff.
Okay.
Next movie I watched is on pay-per-view. It's called Let Him Go with Kevin Costner and Diane Lane. This is based on a novel, which I hear the novel is wonderful. The movie confused me. Again, maybe it's me. I I didn't understand enough about the characters. So the point is that Kevin Costner, Diane Lane, they have a son and a grandson and a daughter-in-law. The son dies in a horse accident. This is set in the 50s, I think, in Montana and Wyoming. And so then the daughter-in-law and grandson live with them for a few years until she finds someone else and she gets married. So she moves out, and on the street, Diane Lane is like missing her grandson and all that, and she's gone to the grocery store in town, and across the street she sees the three of them, and this man hits the grandson because he spilled his ice cream, and then hits the daughter-in-law right on the side of the street. And again, you're watching it going, how is she not getting out of the car and running across the street? You know what I mean? Like it's that sort of thing. Like what I think most of us, especially today, again, I think that's a good thing that it's set back in that time. But today we would be, one, videoing it, and two, reporting it. And and so she just kind of calmly goes home and bakes a cake to take over to them. And when she goes over to them the next day, they're gone. They've left. She finds out they left to go to live with his family, which she doesn't know anything about this, this family, whatever. So she goes home, packs up the car, and Kevin Costner comes home and she says, I'm going to find them and I'm bringing him back. And here's why: I saw him hit, everyone, whatever. You can come or not. And so he decides to go. And so they go off and they start investigating, and they find the family, and the family's insane. And the best part of this movie is Leslie Manville, who plays this Blanche Weeboy, who's the head of this crazy family that this husband is part of. She is scary AF. Like,
that's the one you see in the trailer, right?
The blonde. Yeah.
Kind of dishwater blonde,
yes.
Grayish hair. Yeah. Okay.
She is so scary as the head of this family. She is manipulative and just super smart enough to be that scary. They're a violent family. They're, they're in their own world. So they find them, they visit them, they see the grandson, and then it's about them trying to convince the daughter-in-law to leave and bring the boy. And that family is not willing to give them up. So then it's all about that struggle and the violence between the families and all of that. So here's the thing. I liked it. It's a very quiet movie, even though there's a lot of like violence and stuff. It felt a little too quiet in the way that I didn't know enough about Kevin Costner and Diane Lane's characters. Now, I know them as Superman's parents. They were Superman's parents. Now they're playing this, right? So it's like, okay, I got to get that out of my head. I'm not watching the Kents. So I just, like, at one point, they're walking down the street and Kevin Costner has to stop, and he goes into a liquor store and grabs a bottle of liquor and then starts drinking it. So you go, oh, he's an alcoholic. But I didn't see him drinking any other time, so there's like, I think there's like a lot of nuances that are probably written in the book that they brought into the movie that I just can't interpret. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, Diane Lane, super strong, super headstrong, she's got her stuff together, but where does that come from? What's going on with her? What is really getting her? You know what I mean? So it's just a lot of like questions about the actual characters. If you just follow the basic story and what goes on, yeah, it was fine and it was good and it was entertaining. But I really wanted to know what was motivating a lot of this going on. So anyway, I recommend it. I think it's worth it. If you read, I'd say probably read the book first. I don't read, so it's not going to be an option for me. But you can't go wrong with Kevin Costner and Diane Lane. She's actually really great in this too. But Leslie Manville, my God, again, she should get a nomination. We don't have many movies to choose from this year. She should get a supporting nomination for that.
Sure.
Yeah. Next thing I'm going to talk about quickly, Grinch musical, the live musical that was on the Grinch thing where Matthew Morrison was on. Never in my life. I only watched 45 minutes of it and I had to shut it off.
Yeah.
Never in my life has that happened with a musical before. I couldn't. The music wasn't good. I didn't like. I will say Boo Boo Stewart, who most people will know from the Descendants movies on Disney. He plays Jafar. He plays Jay. He's in Let Him Go. He's actually kind of a really cool character in Let Him Go. And again, I think there was more there probably in the book. But he was in the Grinch. He was young Max. He was really great in it. He was great in both of these. I'm really happy to see him getting more than just Disney stuff.
He was just in the Kevin Costner movie you were just talking about?
Yeah.
And now he's playing...
And then he was young Max and...
the dog
right.
in the Grinch musical.
Yeah, but he came from the descent. He's a song and
I
dance.
understand that, but that is just an interesting contrast.
Yeah, he was really good in Let Him Go. It was interesting. But again, a really interesting character that I didn't get enough of.
Sure.
So, anyway. Okay. Moving on to TV. There was a special one night only, The Best of Broadway, that Tina Fey hosted. It was a 2-hour special.
Right.
It was wonderful. If you can go back, it's probably on Peacock, I would assume. Go back and watch, and if you can, donate to Equity Cares Fights AIDS, because there's a lot of actors that we're coming up on in just a couple months, a year, that Broadway's been closed. And it's not just the actors, it's the entire crew and ushers and ticket takers. Everyone's out of work.
Yeah, so. Everybody involved in a production.
Yeah. So go and watch the show because it was great. They had acts from the Jersey Boys and Mean Girls and Jagged Little Pill and the Temptations show, which I'm blanking on the name of it. And one performance from the Princess Diana musical, which was about to open. David Bryan from Bon Jovi wrote, which he did Memphis. That performance, I actually really like that song, so I'm looking forward to that show. So yeah, check it out, and then if you can, give to Equity Cares for Days.
Very cool.
Next thing I'm going to talk about, High School Musical. The musical, the series, had a holiday special. It's just a 45 minutes of the cast of the High School Musical, the series. They're just singing their favorite Christmas songs, and I like those kids. They're all very talented. I love the show.
Right.
And this was cute because they all kind of talked about how they celebrate their Christmas, and then they sing a song, and God, they're talented kids. So really, really enjoyed that. That's on Disney Plus.
Good for them.
Yeah. Next show I'm going to talk about is The Wilds. This is on Amazon Prime. It's 10 episodes. Look, I want to say I don't know what I felt about this show. But I sat and watched it in a weekend. I mean, I couldn't stop watching it. So that says something.
Yep.
So the premise of this is there's, I don't even know, 8 high school girls that are they've been told they're going to a girls' retreat in Hawaii. And, the plane crashes and they wake up on an island. And they have to start surviving, basically. And it's all the stories of these girls. Every episode kind of takes you to the backstory, kind of like Lost, of each of the girls and why they would have gone on such a retreat and all of that sort of thing. The spoiler plot twist that you find out pretty early on is that the people who run the retreat, this is actually the retreat, that they plan the crash and they do all this. And there's cameras all over the island, and they're watching how these girls choose to survive. And so you find out more about that whole project and what's going on with that. And we also see after they've gotten off the island and kind of, they're telling their stories of what happened on the island. So it was interesting. My only complaint, and I said this to my cousin, I was like, my only complaint is that some of these girls are awful. Like they're just... they're there and they're angry and mean and awful and treating other girls awful. And then I thought, oh, high school. That's actually probably pretty accurate. It just, wow, like did it it triggered something in me almost. Like there were a few of these where I was just like, what is your problem? But then I thought, well, yeah, in high school everyone's awful, and everyone, again, you think everything's more important than it is and all that stuff. So
is there anything meaner than a high school girl who just went through a plane crash? I mean, come on.
Maybe that's what the research is ultimately trying to figure out. Yeah. So it ended with another huge twist. And so I'm assuming they're planning a second season. Mm-hmm. All the girls in it are really good. It was very interesting. It was interesting that, and again, at first I'm like, oh, plane crash on island. Like, people got to stop trying to do stuff like Lost. But it really wasn't anything like that. There's no, there's no smoke monster.
No mystery.
They're
It's
literally
just-
trying to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I recommend it. I think it captured me enough to keep me going.
If you binged it,
yeah. So I definitely would recommend it to people.
Okay.
Yeah. Next show I'm going to talk about is The Flight Attendant. This is on HBO Max. This
Right.
just ended. It only had eight episodes, 8 half-hour episodes. This is with Kaylee Cuoco. Rosie Perez is in it too. This was what I kept saying about this show is it's entertaining. It was entertaining enough that I kept wanting to watch, but it wasn't really clever. You know, it felt there was a mystery involved. Like she wakes up next to a guy after a one-night stand and he's dead. He's been killed. And so there's a big, huge mystery about who killed him, and she starts investigating on her own. Zasha Mamet is also in it. She plays her best friend and helps her out a lot. But that whole mystery, it's not super clever. It's not super, you're not like, oh, that sort of thing. It just kind of unfolds like entertaining enough. There's also this whole other side story that at first I thought was really interesting. My biggest complaint is that in this 8th episode, they wrapped it all up and it was like super rushed. All of a sudden we were told exactly what happened. We were told who did it. The side story was told, and it was like you could have either stretched it out to a 9th and 10th episode, or they really didn't know how else to do it. And so it was like, okay, let's just finish it, and so when it was over, I was like, well, that was anticlimactic. So that's kind of what I mean about it. It wasn't super clever. It wasn't a jarring like reveal or anything. It was just kind of like, okay, well, here you go.
Thanks for coming on this ride. It's over.
Yeah. Now I will say Kaylee Cuoco has never been my favorite. I love
Right.
Big Bang Theory, but I really truly assumed that would be the end of her. I didn't think she would ever do anything else. She's produced this show, and it's a really well done show, and she's good in it. She's an alcoholic. She's got a lot of issues, and she does really well in it. She was very entertaining to me in this show. So I'm actually like, I want to say I'm proud of her, which is so stupid and condescending, but I'm like, I really
Pleasantly surprised.
I really enjoyed her. And there was this whole other story about something from her childhood where, which is kind of why she drinks and behaves the way she does. And that getting wrapped up was actually quite emotional. But yeah, she did I really liked it. And Rosie Perez also plays this very kind of plain flight attendant thing. And she's good. I always enjoy her.
Well, for 10 years, however long Big Bang Theory was on TV. I mean, 12 years? Okay. She never... There was no spreading of her wings or anything.
Right.
She was the...
She did a couple movies here and there, but they were small little things. And yeah, that's why I thought, she'll go away.
Yeah, but what you knew of her was, no offense to her or anybody else, but the dumb blonde next door. That's what they wanted that character to be.
Right.
So that's, over that long a period of time, that's going to get ingrained in you that that's what she is.
Yeah, there was no stretching. And in this show, she definitely stretched a lot.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I did. Yeah. So
And kudos to her. Sorry, but kudos to her because she doesn't have to do anything else.
That's for sure. Yeah.
She made bank on that show, and especially if she's producing this, hats off to her for doing that, because there are a lot of productions that aren't happening.
Yeah, that's what I mean, is that to find a project that I think she really liked, and like I said, it was well made and well done and entertaining. That's all I want. So it's like, I kind of want to say it's a light watch. It kind of is, because you really don't have to think about it a lot. So it's a very kind of light and fluffy watch, even though like there's murder and like all this dark stuff happening. So it sounds like those two don't go together, but it does. So we'll see. So that's on HBO Max.
Okay.
Next show I'm going to talk about that just ended their second season is The Mandalorian.
Oh boy.
Second season, so much better than the first season. Love the first season. It was just very quiet. They were setting up a lot about him, a lot about the characters overall and the whole story and everything. But then this second season, man, we have just visited so many places, so many characters. I'm not going to talk about the finale because it's just one of the most spectacular things I've seen all year. And it was just, I was bawling, like ugly cry, yelling and screaming at my TV, just happy. And I just can't even. So if you've watched it, you've watched it. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. I think this is really, really good filmmaking. Lots of great directors are on this. Obviously Jon Favreau, but there's a lot of other good directors. Bryce Dallas Howard has directed a few, Robert Rodriguez, and it's a great quality show. And if you've watched the Star Wars movies, that's kind of all you need. I mean, just to be familiar with the universe. You don't need to know all the little details that some of us might be picking out. But if you're a fan, you're already watching it. So, I highly recommend it. This second season, I can't wait to go back and watch the second season over again. And, Baby Yoda, Grogu is just the cutest thing. It's like my heart. I can actually like feel my heart when he's put in peril. It's like, it tears me up. It's just like, it's like watching a dog on anything. So, so I'm very much looking forward to the next season. And, so go back. It's 10 episodes in the first season, 10 in the second, and totally worth it on Disney Plus.
Would you go back and watch the first season
With you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we should put that in the rotation.
Okay.
So we can start that whenever.
Okay. Good. So that's the end of TV. So now I just want to talk about Christmas movies, because we had talked about a couple years ago. I think we did like the Actors Corner for Christmas movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, there's been quite a few in the last few years that I've really enjoyed. And so I decided to look up what Christmas movies have come out since 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a ton, but most of them are like Hallmark movies.
Right.
And I was like, okay, that's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for are the instant classics. So
Right.
even in 2000 to 2005, that was like, the Jim Carrey Grinch, that was Elf, that was where instant classics were coming out. Let alone before that, obviously, where we have all of these. And when you turn on your TV these days, it's, The Holiday and Four Christmases and Santa Claus and Christmas of the Cranks. All of those came out before 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we kind of watch on rotation now came out before 2010. So I was like, okay, let's see what there really is. And actually, there was only 10 movies that, in my opinion, qualify as worthwhile Christmas movies from the last 10 years.
Okay.
So that's really weird.
That is kind of weird.
So I just thought I'd talk about them pretty quickly.
Yeah, let's see your list.
Okay. So the first one, Daddy's Home 2.
Oh boy, okay.
I don't watch the first one. I think I've seen the first one like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Daddy's Home 2, I've probably seen at least 20 times by now.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
I love it. I think it's hysterical. Is it a classic Christmas movie? No, because it just happens to happen at Christmas. It's not really about it being Christmas, although it kind of is.
It kind of is.
So, but I love it. I think it's super funny. And if you haven't seen it, it's totally worth watching.
I would say it's a very modern Christmas movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. About the families. Yeah.
Yep.
Another modern one, The Night Before. So you want to find an R-rated Christmas movie.
Yep.
The Night Before was Seth Rogen and blanking on everyone else's name.
Oh yeah.
The Falcon and Robin. I can think of characters they've played and I can't think of their real names. Anyway, Night Before, super funny.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes. And
Falcon.
yeah. Super R-rated, but totally fun. And it actually has a good heart in it. Of course it does. You know. Next one, A Bad Mom's Christmas. Again, an R-rated. I think it's R-rated. It might not be. I don't know.
Oh, I put money on it. It's R-rated.
Love the cast. Then they brought their moms in and love the moms. Again, just enjoyable to me. It's something I can always watch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, again, is it really like a classic Christmas movie that you're going to watch every year? For me, it is, but it's not like gather the family. Let's watch this around the, TV. It's not one of those.
Yeah.
But it is a Christmas movie, and I like it.
Yeah.
Then you've got the Christmas Chronicles, the first one and the second one with Kurt Russell playing Santa Claus. These are your typical classic Christmas that you do gather the family around and watch. They're new. It's a new take on Santa. It's a new take on the whole holiday and stuff. And I really enjoy them. And I think these are definitely need to be in the rotation. Because it's on Netflix, I think you forget to rewatch, Netflix movies sometimes. I don't, but other people, I think they watch it once. And because it doesn't get put on TV every day, you forget it exists. So that's kind of what I'm getting at is go back to Netflix and rewatch these again this holiday season. Probably my favorite newest Christmas movie is Noel on Disney Plus.
Of course.
So this came out last Christmas. I've probably watched it 15 times this year because I just love it.
Sure.
And again, so
well, it's
definitely
Anna Kendrick. I mean,
yeah. But again, it's not going to be on TV, so go back to Disney Plus, watch it again, and keep it in your Christmas rotation because it's just such a lovely story. I love it so much. A different take on a Christmas movie is Anna and the Apocalypse. It's a musical about zombie apocalypse happening at Christmas. It's really good, and the songs are really good. And it's, again, not a classic Christmas that you're going to gather around, but when you're looking for something new or looking for something that you haven't seen yet, check out Anna and the Apocalypse because it's definitely, I cried. It's good. I really liked it.
Who's the lead in it?
I don't know her name.
Oh, okay.
She's English, I believe. Yeah. There's no one in it that you would know. It's a tiny little movie, but great music and a really interesting story.
Okay.
Set against Christmas.
Very cool.
A kind of more classic Christmas movie is Love the Coopers. That came out in the last 10 years with Diane Keaton.
Yep.
John Goodman and Olivia Wilde and Marissa Tomei. And Steve Martin is the dog narrator. It's a very kind of depressing movie about this family, but it's also Timothy Chalamet's in it. He's young. But it's also that heart Alan Arkin and Amanda Seyfried. I love their story.
Yeah.
It's lovely. It's one of those, where it feels a little down, but so is like that Jimmy Stewart, It's a Wonderful Life, right? It's about like, kind of your life sucks, but then, at Christmas time you kind of reflect and you recognize what's really most important. And I love that in Love the Coopers. It's such a story, and it's told so well about this really big family, and I love all of their little stories.
Right.
So that's a good one that I want to make sure people are watching.
Okay.
Another one, it's set at Christmas. Why Him? The latest with Bryan Cranston and James Franco. I think this movie's funny. I do watch it when it's on TV all the time. It cracks me up. I don't know. Not a classic, but it's a good one that's come out in the last 10 years, so I had to include it.
And it does take place at Christmas. So
yeah.
I would not call it a Christmas movie. I would call it a movie that happens to take place at Christmas,
But that's like saying Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie, so,
Well, that's a big debate.
Or Gremlins. So, anyway, I like that.
Okay.
Another R-rated Office Christmas Party. I didn't really enjoy the movie much.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, really?
No, and I've heard that it's got some good parts to it.
It has good parts to it, but overall, I didn't enjoy it. And I haven't watched it again. So, I don't know. Maybe I should go back and check it out. Again, I love everyone that's in it. It just, I don't know. It didn't sit well with me as much.
Sure.
The newest one from this year is Jingle Jangle, A Christmas Journey. It's that musical movie that I just love.
I do want to watch that.
Yeah, we're going to watch it this week.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure that people get to Netflix and watch Jingle Jangle. That's the newest one. That is a classic instantly. Something that people can watch every year, and really it's so much about the Christmas spirit that you need to watch that every year for sure. And then I started thinking too about my favorite TV specials, right? Charlie Brown Christmas, 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, Year Without a Santa Claus. Those are all my favorites. And I was like, gosh, I feel like we don't even have new ones of those. So I was kind of looking at that, and we do have the Olaf's Frozen Adventure, where he goes and tries to find traditions because the girls say they don't have a tradition. And I love that one. And I'm sure there's others that I'm not like Prep and Landing. I'm sure there's others that have come out that I don't really know about so much. But again, it just feels different because they don't come on TV. You know, it's not that event where it's like, oh, Christmas Eve, all of them are going to be on and we got to sit and watch. You got to kind of go around and look through all these different services and find them. And so it's just a different feeling. But I just kind of wanted to go through these in case people are forgetting, you know, go back to Netflix, go back to Disney Plus, check these out. And, you know, at least for me, I know a lot of people don't watch live TV anymore, but I'm still, you know, I still kind of go, okay, what's on? Oh, it's Christmas Vacation again. It's, you know, Santa Claus again. It's Home Alone again. You know, all the same ones that are constantly on, which I still stop and watch. I'm not complaining. It's just, you know, there are others out there. It's just weird that it feels like, though, the real good Christmas classic movies just aren't happening anymore. So, you know, we'll see what's I mean, again, I feel like Noel is definitely in that vein, and I feel like Jingle Jangle's in that vein, and all the others are kind of like, yeah, they're around Christmas time, you know. So so we'll see. You know, anyway, so that's all of that. Okay. So we are gonna bust through our Actors Corner with Diane Keaton.
Sounds good. And
then we will be done.
Okay.
So you go first. Movies you love.
Okay, I got it down to 3.
Okay.
And to be honest, there wasn't much more than that. So when I came out and I said, you know, gosh, that was tough. It's because I thought Diane Keaton, she's had such a long career and she seemed to be in everything for a while. And then going through the movies, it's like she hasn't done a ton of good stuff lately. To me, the last 20...
she's like 75 or something.
I understand that, but like the last 20 years, you know, she's been in some things and done some things.
Yeah.
But she had a stretch like 85 to 2000 where she was like, you know.
She's done a lot in the last 20 years that I just haven't seen.
I guess
she
maybe
was kind
that's
of,
it.
She was kind of like pouring them out, but they were ones that I just missed. You know? Anyway, go ahead.
All right. So what I got it down to was Father of the Bride, the original.
Yes.
First Wives Club.
Yes.
And Something's Gotta Give.
Okay, so on my love, I've got Father of the Bride. For me, it's both, as well as the third one, which was the little internet thing that I talked about a few months ago. So I have Father of the Bride across the board, and then First Wives Club as well. Yeah, Father of the Bride is just, you know, it's a remake, and I never saw the original with Humphrey Bogart. Because these are perfect, and why would I go watch anything else?
Right.
First Wives Club, same thing, perfection.
Right.
Love that movie. I've heard that they're talking about remaking it. There was a Broadway musical of it last year, the year before.
Okay.
Something's Gotta Give for me. I put under like. I don't know. I don't know why, because again, I watch it all the time. But it's an absolute classic with Jack Nicholson. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Well, and Keanu's in it, so
yeah,
you know, that counts for a lot too.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so movies you like?
Movies I like. Love The Coopers.
Okay.
And Morning Glory.
Okay, so I have Morning Glory under there, and it's weird because I struggled with it because it's like she's not a huge part of that, but I do love the movie, so I felt like I needed to put it somewhere.
You know, she's one of the leads, right?
No,
I think. Oh no.
No.
Okay.
She's the anchor on the show. She doesn't, you know.
But it's all about her relationship with Harrison Ford, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, it's Rachel McAdams that's the lead.
I know. Well, yeah, obviously, because it's from her perspective or it's following her.
Right.
But, yeah, okay, whatever.
Okay. I put Love the Coopers under Secretly Love. But we just talked about it, so
sure,
you know. My others under like is Because I Said So. So I had Something's Gotta Give, Morning Glory, and then Because I Said So, which I do watch all the time. I just love the daughters and Mandy Moore in that. Movies you hate?
Hanging Up.
I put that too.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate.
I did not like that movie.
Yeah, I tried to watch it, and
such good people.
You know,
she directed that.
The four main people in it are all people I really, really like.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that the collection of them together would have been great, but it was not.
Yeah. I agree. I have that and book club. I talked
never
about
saw
book
it.
club on here, and
Yeah.
I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Secretly Love?
I struggled with this one. I went back and forth because I said so, and Mad Money.
Okay.
I would think I'm actually gonna say because I said so, because it's not a movie that I would, if I'm flipping through, or the first time when I saw it, if I was flipping through, I never would have seen it without your input. So it was kind of a secret to me.
Okay. So here I have Love the Coopers, and then I have Mad Money, which I love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Right.
It cracks me up. And I put The Other Sister, where that's a Gary Marshall movie, and she's the mother, and she's not the best mother. But I love that movie so much. So
The Other Sister, is that Toni Collette and
no, this is where, and now I'm blanking on their names. I
Is
can't
that
think of their
Cameron
names,
Diaz?
No,
Okay.
I can't think of their names.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway,
We can move on.
Yeah. So Embarrassed You Haven't Seen?
Annie Hall.
I have that on my list too.
Yeah, because that's the one that put her on the map, I guess. And I'm conflicted about it because it's a Woody Allen movie, but is what it is.
Well, I'm embarrassed I haven't seen it, but it doesn't mean I want to see it.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to see a movie where Woody Allen is chasing, Diane Keaton.
Well, back then, Anyway, I also have The Godfather because I've never seen any of those.
Yeah.
I'm not really. Well, I guess I'm embarrassed, but yeah, no desire to watch. So
Yeah, if you watch it for her, you'll be disappointed because she's just barely in them.
yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know she was in them until I saw this.
Yeah,
one.
she plays what's his face's wife.
Yeah. All right, adding to your watch list.
Town and Country.
Okay.
Yeah, I going through and looking at him. I'm not a huge fan of Warren Beatty, but it's got Gary Shandling and a few other people that I really like. So I would think that I'd like to see it.
Okay. I didn't have any that I'm adding, but there's a couple that honorable mentions. Baby Boom was the first time I saw her, so I knew she had done Annie Hall and all that before, but the first time I saw was Baby Boom, and I loved that movie because again, back then, watching any working woman movie in the 80s was all I cared about. So Secret of My Success and Working Girl, like 9 to 5, that was all I cared about, was watching professional women at work and stuff, and then they hand her this baby and it's like game over. Lemon Sisters was another movie I really enjoyed, and then The Family Stone. That movie, wow, the first time I saw it, not easy to watch at all. But now I watch it more, and I do enjoy it with Sarah Jessica Parker and all them. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's Diane Keaton.
All right,
we got through it. So we are programming note. We are probably going to come back a week from now instead of 2 weeks, because this week of Christmas there are a lot of movies coming out. George Clooney's new one, and then on Christmas Day is Wonder Woman and Soul. So we want to talk about all of those as quickly as we can instead of waiting 2 weeks. So we will be back next weekend, and then that'll probably be it until 2021.
Yep, you've been warned.
So we hope everyone has a very safe and Merry Christmas. Please stay home. Please don't visit people. And we will get through this, and next year will be better.
Yep.
All right. Until then, I'll be watching my stories.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye.